Hello, elevator community. Welcome to the Elevator Entrepreneur Podcast. My mission is to empower my fellow elevator entrepreneurs in creating your growth plan, which is going to free your time, allowing you to rest easy. I'm your host, Sean Madden. I've had an amazing 35 years in the elevator industry, starting out in the field, managed several elevator companies, started, built, and sold Madden Elevator Company for well over market value, and serving as your NAC president. I've done a lot in the industry, and now I'm ready to pay my knowledge forward. Let's dive right in. Welcome to the Elevator Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm joined here with Adam Thomas from Albany Elevator. Welcome aboard, Adam.
Hey, Sean, I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. So excited to talk to you. We've worked together for a little bit now and talked about a lot of business stuff, and it's always exciting to hear the stories. But one of the things that always intrigues me is hearing how people came into the elevator industry and what their journey was up to today. So why don't you take us through a little bit of your background?
Yeah, so elevator is in my DNA. I'm third generation. My grandfather started right out of high school as a helper, worked his way up to a regional manager in Atlanta, but then he got the opportunity to open up offices in Albany, Daytona, and the Caribbean Islands. They got them into Albany, and he'd made some good contacts, and they said, "Hey, we're going to close down that office." He said, "But I've already made some promises." They said, "Well, we're going to close it down." He said, "What do you think about me just going out on my own? Do you mind doing that?" I said, "Okay." Parted ways pretty amicably, and that's how Albany Elevator got started back in '66. My dad grew up in the industry, so it was only natural for me to join. I started full-time. I took a little break from 2013 to 2019, went to school, got a degree, worked in the aerospace industry for a bit. And then in 2019, an opportunity came up to come back home and join the family business again.
Awesome. That's pretty neat. So interesting question. Look, the aerospace industry, was it similar to the elevator industry in terms of what you learned and how you apply stuff?
Not really. So I was working in electronic warfare. So I was doing a lot of radar work and such for the U.S. government. And then left and did some R&D and structural engineering for a crop machine company. As far as my experience from elevators to the engineering side, there wasn't very much overlap, except for the fact that I had the benefit of being someone that's had their hands on and hands in. So you could kind of design and help implement some of the issues that the shop floor is having in the engineering side.
No, that's cool. I almost went to school for aerospace at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, so it was just interesting. And I actually went to school in Daytona Beach. When was the company in Daytona? I'm just curious.
So my grandfather never actually got the shop up and going in Daytona. He was put over trying to start up an office in Albany, Daytona, and the Caribbean Islands at the same time. And then he pulled out in '66 before all three offices really got established.
I got you. Well, I wasn't around in '66, so no, that's a great story. I love hearing family business and continuing that legacy. You know, there's not many of them out there anymore, so keep fighting the fight and keep growing the business. That's exciting. So kudos to you all. Let's talk a little bit about what's went on in the business. There's always business challenges, always things that happen. Talk a little bit about something that's happened in the business that you've seen or you're dealing with or have dealt with. And what are some things you did to try to implement to solve them?
Yeah, so we're a small company and we have a really close-knit family, if you will. A lot of our employees are family. My brother and sister are both in the company. We've got a set of twins that work for us. We've got a father-son pair to work for us. So we have a really close-knit family. So that brings on its own challenges and rewards at the same time. One of the things that I've learned is transitioning from my dad's leadership to my leadership. It's two different styles. Transferring from my grandfather to my dad, I'd probably say this the better. My dad's one of the nicest, most easygoing, best guys to work for. And I'm a little bit more like my grandfather, where we're more analytically driven. My dad has a lot better, I guess it's the soft skills of being able to read emotions, really just naturally having that empathy towards someone. And for me and my grandfather, it's a little bit more of a learned skill. So going from those two leadership styles has been a challenge within the business. Also, my dad he's purely organic growth, very patient. And then my grandfather and I both want to scale. We want to be all that we can be for everyone, for our customers, for our employees. The leadership change has been what I see as a challenge. And just on a personal level, even going from having your hands on the elevators, going through as a technician, then even as an engineer, where you have direct control over something. Numbers don't lie, they don't change. But you know what's going to be before the outcome comes out. And then going to switching that up to dealing with emotions. It's a big change, a big challenge to read someone's emotions for me. So I think it's the soft skills for me personally that's been the most challenging. But in order to work through it, I've been trying to devour books, mostly audio books. I actually live in Dothan, Alabama, but the home office is in Albany. So it's a 2 hour drive whenever I go back to the home office. The 2 hour drive there, 2 hour back is usually business books, leadership books, trying to understand what it is that makes a good leader. What can I do to best benefit the employees, to benefit the customers, to help the business along? So that's what I'm trying to do to overcome those challenges.
It's interesting because I came up in the industry from the field, went to school for engineering, and have an engineering brain. So everything seems to, I want it to be zeros and ones or black and white, or I want to have all those systems in place. I can relate to the situation where dealing with the emotional part was not one of my strengths. And coming from the field to operations is a big transition. And one of the things I went through, I had a really good mentor that was actually my boss that hired me as a adjuster in the elevator industry, Roger Irvin, the late Roger Irvin. He was an engineer also, and he was really good at people. And I'm like, how did you get so good? And he said, well, I went to Dale Carnegie. And he said, if you want to go to Dale Carnegie, I'll pay for it. And that course changed my life, like just bar none. It was unbelievable. It's like this opening of, oh, okay, I get it a little bit better. And I think it's just the way engineering minds work. And when you're dealing with people, it's totally different. It's more the emotional side and trying to understand their side of the story. Sometimes in engineering land, you're just like, no, it just should be black and white, right? So I can totally relate to what you're saying. And the Dale Carnegie course was one that it was interesting. Miss Kentucky, I guess. Kentucky sent every one of their people to it because they were going to be going to Miss America, and that taught them people skills. And Miss Kentucky at the time was the lady that I was gearing up with and working with and learned a lot from. But that whole process, it was like, I think it was 18 weeks back in the day. And they got a ton of different ones now. Mine was how to win friends and influence people and how to start living and stop worrying. And it's based off the two books. When I first saw that, I was like, I'm not going to manipulate people. That's where my brain went, right? And then I realized, oh, it's not that at all. It's just trying to understand people and how to influence them in a positive way by trying to better understand their situation and empathize with them. You don't have to agree, but you empathize with them. And he has a golden book that talks about a ton of rules that really helped me tremendously. So I just wanted to throw that out. That you might want to listen to that book. That's one of the great books that I loved.
Yeah, I've actually listened to that book about 3 times. I run out of Audible credits, so I wind up re-listening to books pretty regular. Another really good one was Jocko Willink's The Extreme Ownership. Fantastic book. Ultimately, as a manager, it is your responsibility. Anything that fails below you is ultimately your responsibility.
And I was fortunate that he allowed me that opportunity. I went to Dale Carnegie, and then afterwards, I was always thirsting for knowledge. So I went to a ton of Fred Pryor classes, went to some of the Stephen Covey classes. He was another one of my mentors. Just like you did or are doing, continually learning. I think Steve Covey said it. You have to continually sharpen the saw. So no matter what you learn, you have to continually improve it, continually sharpen it, because you'll use some of it, but then world changes, life changes. You change a little bit because something different in your life changed. So you have to continually improve those skills. And you have to have that one. Some people don't want to be managers and leaders and don't do that kind of stuff. And that's okay. That's not who they are. And they oftentimes end up going back out in the field, which I've seen. But if you want to do it, you have to continually learn and grow. And it sounds like you're doing an awesome job at that. So congrats. Keep listening.
I'm trying. I fail every day, but definitely it's not for lack of effort. I'm trying everything I can to be what I can to the employees and customers. And
Yeah. Well, the good thing is, one of the books I listened to, it said, fail early, fail fast. Because if you're not failing, you're not trying, you're not pushing yourself beyond the bubble. So failing every day is important, but not doing the same failure every day is also important. Don't do the same thing over and over again. And so that's really awesome. It sounds like you're on a great journey and have a great opportunity with taking over the business from your dad. I'm excited. I'm excited to see where it goes, and anything I can do to help, I'm here to help you. What's one thing you would like to leave our fellow listeners with? What's something that you think was a golden nugget for you as you're going through this journey that we would maybe want to leave with our fellow elevator entrepreneurs?
yeah, so I'd say just in life in general, something that I've grown from my time at school. I went to Georgia Tech, and they have a lot of close ties with a lot of larger companies, especially in the aerospace industry. So dealing with these higher up leaders, the CEOs of these large companies, these big project managers, what I've learned is two things: is I have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I have to be okay in those situations. So the more I can get uncomfortable, then the more I will inherently become comfortable with that. And the other thing is just networking, the importance of networking. I can't stress that enough. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I've learned even in school. Forget all the engineering that went behind it, but it's really, it's networking that really drives growth. Being able to call on someone, hey, I know so-and-so had the same problem. Now you have a resource that you can go over there and tap into. So yeah, that's kind of, I don't want to say my wisdom because I'm early on in my path. Like I told you earlier, I don't feel worthy of even sitting here with you. But that's where I'm driving from, is trying to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and then also just networking as much as I possibly can.
That's great advice, and you're definitely worthy of sitting here with me. Everybody has their own path and everybody has their own journey. And if you're open to learn from each other, everybody's going to teach you something. Like I've learned a ton today just in this general conversation. So appreciate what you do for our industry, and really appreciate you stepping in to lead a third generation, I guess, of your elevator business. And that's exciting to see. Learning and growing is part of the process for sure, and making mistakes and improve from them. One of the things that I'll just mention that was instrumental for me was when I made mistakes early in my career, the people around me picked me up like, it's all right. You'll get it next time. If you watch any pro stuff like pro football, pro whatever, you'll see like a major mistake and they don't go over there and get down on them. They were like, all right, it's fine. You already know you messed up, right? So come on, just forget about it. Move on. Let's figure out the next step. Because if you dwell on it, you'll continually drive yourself nuts. And as an engineer, I used to dwell on it. I used to be like, oh my God, why did that happen? Why can't I fix that? Why can't I make that better? And I'm continually always trying to make things better and improve it. But failure is part of that process. And the more you fail, the better you get at improving and getting better. And you got to get comfortable with failing so that you feel good about growing as a person. So it's really great advice. I do appreciate it, Adam.
And I appreciate everything that you do, John. And I'm very fortunate to have a good safety net in my dad. He's getting to the point where he's wanting to retire and step away a little bit, but I know that I have that to fall back on as far as, hey, Pops, what do I need to do in this situation? I listen to several people with startups, and man, I can't imagine trying to start from zero. I think Bill and Grant was talking about it whenever he was starting up, the lack of resources. You're kind of out there on an island. So I'm extremely fortunate to be able to come into such a good team with my dad, with the technicians I have, and then even the NAC events where he's introduced me to several people. And now I have that network. And then just meeting you, appreciate all you do for the industry and pushing it along. Thank you so much. And I just real thankful for the group that I have surrounding me. It's just incredible. So very fortunate.
Well, I do appreciate the plug there, Adam. But NAEC has been very great and instrumental to me as well. They have the CET program for technicians, and I even went through the VTMP, the Vertical Transportation Management Program, which really gets into the weeds of how you can be a better manager. It teaches you how to write communication better in sales and finance and the insides of the business you don't often think about. I was just recently talking to Renee, the executive director, yesterday, and she said, what are you doing at Elevator Strategic Hub? and how does it compare to what we're doing? And I'm like, well, we are not competing with what you do. We're focused on elevator business systems. We want to augment what NAC does and help each other in that space. So I'm real excited about where we're going with that. And I think those systems, like you said, when I started my business in 2010 with me and my wife in the basement, no money and a dream, it was like, there's no elevator systems out there. So really, you were on an island, like Bill McGrath said. You were on an island up to this point, and now these systems and resources are continually growing. NAAC has a lot of great stuff, and there's a lot of good stuff coming in Elevator Strategic Hub, which people will start hearing about here real soon. So I appreciate that. So Adam, thank you for your time. This was a lot of fun, and I really do appreciate everything you do for the industry as well. And always understand that you do have something to offer. Like your experience and insights will help somebody else. So thanks for sharing today.
Likewise, I really do appreciate it, Sean.
Have a great day. Thank you for listening to the Elevator Entrepreneur Podcast. I truly hope this information helps my fellow elevator entrepreneurs to build your growth plan so you can free your time, allowing you to rest easy. If you need help getting your elevator business organized for growth, I've created tools and templates inside my favorite business operating system that you can access for free. Plus, you can have a 30-day free trial of the software. Just head over to elevatorstrategichub.com/ebos. That's /EBOS to get your free access, or you can click the link below. Thanks again. I'll be back next time with a brand new episode on the Elevator Entrepreneur. Until next time, stay safe out there, and I will continue to empower my fellow elevator entrepreneurs.